All right, y'all, this is an optional kind of help video. I'm only going to walk through a few of these, but know that there are a lot more of these examples on the PowerPoint slides and the PDF version of the PowerPoint slides that I'll post on this Moodle page here for this module. So we're going to start here with just reading this out loud here. Natan, Yahweh or Adonai, Eli. So Natan, that's the verb to give or to put or set. And we don't have any endings, a zip ending. Our three letters here, our three consonants here are our root, our full root. And then we have these A-class vowels underneath. So this is a Qal Perfect, a zip ending. And our subject follows. Sometimes if you're confused about what the subject is, if you're looking at the verb and you're like, is this second masculine plural or whatever, sometimes the subject comes next, right? So you can then figure it out by looking at the subject. So Yahweh is a third, is interpreted grammatically as a third masculine singular subject in terms of grammar in the Bible. I should point out here that Yahweh is given masculine verbs in the Bible, but ancient Israel was fairly unique in stating very openly that Yahweh was both masculine and feminine in terms of kind of identity, and that that all of the peoples of the earth reflect an image of Yahweh in some way, which is an unusual statement in the ancient world. But also in the ancient world, gods had genders. They were men or women. They were interpreted that way. Of course, they were deities, but they were man deities or woman deities. Like Baal was a man deity and Asherah was a woman deity. This was just how they were interpreted and understood and so on. In ancient Israel, Yahweh did not have this kind of identity. Yahweh was said to have breasts and to nurse Israel metaphorically, but also kind of in creating the world, Yahweh birthed it like a mother. So Yahweh is said to do these actions that are fairly unusual in the sense that they cross gender boundaries in ancient Israel. So lest we think that because Yahweh has masculine verbs that Yahweh is a man god or something, the whole one of the very distinctive elements of ancient Israelite religion is that that they don't worship a man god, and neither do we. We worship a God in whom all of humanity is reflected in the divine image. Grammatically speaking, ancient Hebrew was a little bit less progressive than that, let's say. But regardless, just you can translate these different ways to reflect that knowledge that we have today. But just know that when you read ancient Hebrew, this is how it works. So Yahweh gave Eli to. This is the preposition to, and then me. Yahweh gave to me. Another example here, ha'anashim asher halchu. Ha'anashim, the men. Here's our plural for man. Asher, remember that's our that or which, our relative particle. Relative meaning it relates to things. The men who or which, the men that we in English we would use who here. The men who, and then halchu. Halak means to walk or go, and then you have an u ending. That's the third common plural ending there, so the men who went. Yadati ki natan Yahweh lachem et haaretz. Yadati, this comes from yada, which means to know. We have A-class vowels under here, so it's a call. We have a hirek yod, so it's a Qal Perfect. Yeah, you see that? So yadati, and the E ending, that's first person, common singular. Yadati, I know, or I knew, but usually with yada, verbs of knowledge and emotion, perception, these are generally translated in English with present tense. So I know, ki, that. Natan Yahweh, that Yahweh gave. Lachem, to y'all. Remember, this is our object suffix. Our pronouns that are object suffixes here. Our mem means masculine plural. Our kaf means second person, so to y'all. Et, mark of the object. Haaretz, the land. I know that Yahweh gave to y'all the land. I know that Yahweh has given you the land. Might be a way to clean that up. Here's another one. Vahu, and he, remember who means he, avar lifnehem. Avar is the verb to cross over. It's got a zip ending. It's got A-class vowels, so it's a Qal Perfect third masculine singular, and he himself, because remember it comes first here. This is the subject. Subject coming before the verb. It's breaking the word order. Now he himself crossed over, lifnehem, before you. And he himself crossed over before. Oh, sorry, this is not you. This is not hem, y'all. This is hem, them. Third person. Hey is for third person. Me is for mem is for masculine plural here. So I read too fast and confused those two, which is easy to do. Zakarti, lach, chesed, na'urayich. This really should be zacharti. Zacharti. So zakar is the verb to remember. So zacharti, I remember. La, and then cha, for you. Chesed, that kind of loving kindness. Sometimes it's translated, but really fierce loyalty is probably a better way to translate that. Na'urayich, which is a little bit of a tricky one. But na'ar is kind of a youth, and this is like the youth of you. Notice it's a feminine singular. We have the buttons here, feminine singular, subject, the object suffix, second person suffix here. So to you. So I remember. That is for you. Sometimes when you see these lach and lacha, these little constructions, you got to kind of figure out what it means. But I remember concerning you, chesed, na'urayich, the hesed of your youth, of the youth of you. So, yeah, when you were young, you were better off. That's, sort of, got to remember that. But, okay, so, Artsah Mitzrayim. So in Eretz, that's land. And Mitzrayim is Egypt. This one is not actually a verb. This one is just kind of towards the land of Egypt. This is a directive hey here, which this is just to say if you ever see a comet's hey hanging out on something that's not a verb, and you can't figure it out, and it's got a precise place named, like the land of Egypt, you're probably looking at something where it's telling you go towards the land of Egypt. It'll probably be accompanied by a verb of motion or action. That's just something to throw in here. That's a little bit strange or unusual. But V'av Shalom. Now notice this is Absalom. You can read ancient Israelite names, right? So Av means father, and Shalom means peace. So father of peace. Yeah, his father wasn't peaceful, unfortunately. Neither was he. So, but anyway, V'av Shalom asher mashachnu aleinu. V'av Shalom asher, and now Absalom, who mashachnu. Mashach is from Meshiach, to anoint. So mashachnu, we anointed. Now Absalom, whom we anointed. This is a Qal Perfect. It's got the first common plural ending. Whom we anointed aleinu, over us. Now Absalom, whom we anointed over us. So the people are saying that they've made Absalom their king, or these people at least. Miyom azava et haaretz. Yom means day, like Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. Miyom, from the day. Azava, this right here, azav, to abandon, and then here's our third feminine singular ending, and then et haaretz, the land, from the day she abandoned the land, and so on. Atem azavtem oti. Atem is an independent pronoun. It means y'all. Azavtem, to abandon, that word we just saw, plus tem, zipatatati utem tenu. Tem, this is masculine plural, second person. Qal Perfect. Got our A-class vowel. This is a first guttural, so it's messing with our pattern a little bit, but who cares? And then object me. You have abandoned me. And we might say that this is like breaking the word order a bit because it's atem coming before. You don't even really need to say atem, by the way, because azavtem has all that information in it already. Notice this, azav, right? to abandon, and then tem means y'all. Y'all abandoned me. You can just say azavtem oti, and it would perfectly mean you abandoned me. But when you add the independent pronoun in front of it, you're disrupting the word order, and you're kind of saying something you've already said in the verb itself. So you yourself have abandoned me. I might even translate this more strongly. Now you yourself have abandoned me, right? Because it's suggesting intensity here by the word order. So another one, ani. Again, think of this. This is our independent subject pronoun coming first. And then azavti, I have abandoned. Here's our e ending. And then etchem, y'all. Here's et, the direct object, and then chem, y'all. I myself, I have abandoned y'all. This is, if you read it in context, this is a perfect verb, but it makes a lot of sense that this is like what's happening now, or maybe in the future. Like, you have abandoned me, now I'm going to abandon you, right? So we can nuance this translation a bit. This would make a lot more sense in context. But just to say that, remember, these perfect verbs every once in a while can signal something that's happening now, or maybe is about to happen. I would actually translate this one in context, I am about to abandon you, or something like that. But all to say, karati shimcha Adonai. Kara means to call, and then karati, I called. Qal Perfect ending. So here's our A-class vowel, so Qal Perfect. So karati, I called. Shimcha, shem means name. Cha means you. This is our object suffix. Remember, necktie, you. And then Yahweh. I called your name, Yahweh. We can say, I am calling on your name. I will, this is in context. This is Lamentations. It's poetry, so you got to kind of figure it out as you go. Poetry always is tough with verbs because poets do lots of different things based on sound. They like the sound better and so on. But still, it's something like, I call on your name, or I have called on your name, O Lord. And then koli shamata, from shama, which means to hear. Koli, the voice of me, my voice. Shama ta, our ta ending. Remember our necktie, second person. So you have heard. You heard my voice. I call on your name, Yahweh, and you heard my voice. Okay, so here's another bit of practice here. Yahweh. Now Yahweh, pakad. This is an interesting verb. It means to visit, appoint. So, and then et Sarah, like a princess. And then ka asher amar. Ka asher is like which, right? This is the relative particle asher, and then the inseparable preposition ka. Whenever you see ka asher, it means just as. And that's just an idiom. It just always means that. Just as amar, he said. So Yahweh is visiting Sarah just as he said. Or Yahweh visited in the simple past. Yahweh visited pakad Sarah just as he said. For Genesis 21. All right. And then I'll do one more and then I'll leave the rest for you to complete on your own, and you can talk about these in precepts and so on also. So, mashach. Oto. Object. Oto. Him. Sham, meaning there. Tzadok. Ha-kohen. Remember ha, the, and then kohen, priest. Tzadok is like tzedek, right? Righteousness. V'natan, there's that natan verb. V'natan ha-navi, so something about giving, right? The prophet. So mashach, it's like anoint. And we don't have a subject very clear here, but it's third person, masculine singular verb. So it's going to be he anointed. And then oto, him. He anointed him. We don't know who the characters are yet here, but he anointed him. Sham, there. Tzadok. Now, tzadok means righteousness, but we might be looking at a name. There you go. And he anointed him there. Who? Zadok. So the subject has been removed quite a bit here from the object. It's a bit unusual, but still, sometimes you have to kind of patch these things together. So Zadok, or like righteousness, is the name of this high priest, is the high priest of David. Now, how would you know this? Because you're reading a story about Zadok. It's showing you the sentence out of context is a bit tricky. But in any event, so Zadok anointed him there, HaKohen is part of Zadok. So Zadok, the Kohen, the priest. Zadok, the priest, subject. Mashach, verb. Anointed, and then object, him. And then there, at the place. So Zadok, the priest, anointed him there. And then you have another little bit here. Natan HaNavi. Now, Natan means he gave. But it's also a name. Names are tricky. Names are often built off of verbs or, like names of God and so on. So they can be tricky sometimes. So if you're reading a story about Nathan and Zadok, remember Nathan was the prophet and Zadok was the priest who backed Solomon over against Solomon's rivals in David's family after David died. So Vanatan Hanavi, and Bathsheba is a part of this crew too. So Bathsheba, Nathan, and Zadok were all on the Solomon team. So in this story, you would have kind of been looking for these names. But in any event, so Mashach, and he anointed. So Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet. But this is a tricky thing because you've got a singular verb here. Now, sometimes that happens when the Bible picks out one person, like Zadok is really the anointing one, and the priest is kind of helping. They'll sometimes, the biblical authors will sometimes use a singular verb for that kind of circumstance. And sometimes it's like if they're working together as a team, or if let's say all of Israel is working together as a team, they'll sometimes use a singular verb to describe that group action when everyone's doing the same thing at the same time. Every once in a while that gets to be tricky, but often it's not too bad. Okay, so I'm going to leave some of these to the rest of you, but notice that like some names, like this one, Sancherib, Sennacherib. This is a tricky one. I'll give you a little clue there. But try to look at these or some of the examples in the workbook, or just focus on translation for the week. But try to pick out those verbs and notice those Qal Perfects and try to translate them in situ or in where they are in the text. It's great to get to verbs finally, and hopefully the translation gets a little bit more fun and interesting from here on out. Thanks.